for everybody that that I've shared it with, that it's applied to. I mean, if you don't need local leads, well, then it's no big deal. But if you do, or if they would be of value to you, then this is a method that works. So I began learning this stuff when Google was just beginning to develop its search engine for commercial purposes. So I caught it right at the beginning, and they provided me with a lot of what today might be considered proprietary information because they were just learning it too, and I wanted to help them so that I hoped they would help me, and they did. And so they told me about a brand new application they wanted to launch, and they told me it would probably help my current clients. And so I launched it. Prior to that Google property, the best way to drive traffic for a local business was with a website. And it's still good to, and you got to use a website, really. You pretty much have to. But I couldn't believe it that when you connect what Google wanted to launch, which was their Google My Business listing, in combination with the website, it was an unbelievable difference because I had clients that were doing for years with the website and doing pretty well, but with combining a Google My Business listing with it, in some cases, they were actually able to triple the amount of leads that they had coming in. And after a while, the majority of them were getting most of their leads through the Google My Business listing. You still need to connect a website to it. We'll go into all that, but it was unbelievable. It was really lucky for me. 2004 was a great year. I really lucked out when Google told me about this. And when somebody tells me something, I usually follow through and try it. And boy, I was so glad I tried this. But that's kind of what I do. So if you want to find out, if you don't know what a Google My Business listing is, or if you have one, maybe you do, maybe you don't, open up a new browser tab and type in google.com/maps. And this is what will come up. This map with this search box up here, and you just put your company name in there and click to initiate the search. And if you have a Google My Business listing, it may come up. If it does not come up, but you think you have one, put in where you're located, the town or city you're located in, and click again and see if that brings it up. If your company still doesn't appear, you may not have set one up yet. But if it does come up, but it says claim this listing, then that means Google has pieced together enough information about you that they've begun one for you. You want to claim it, and then you want to make the changes to make it accurate and all that kind of thing, and begin using it because it's very powerful. But if nothing comes up for you still, you can log into google.com/business with a website, with an email address and the password for that email address. Now, I think I always use a Gmail address for this. I don't know that it's absolutely necessary, but that's just a habit I've always gotten into. And Google likes it when you use any property that they've developed, so it may be of some help. But at any rate, you log in with that, and that set of credentials will be what you always use to log into this in the future to make any changes or to make any additions, which probably you're going to be making a lot of them. So you fill in your business name. Now, it doesn't really have to be your business name. It can be any name you want this listing to be. There are some advantages to if you've figured out what keywords come up that you have products or services for, you can include that in there, and that can be of value. But anyway, whatever name you want to use here, that's fine. It's your discretion. But once you use it, you're going to have to stick with it. So it's probably good to think it through. Key in, you know, you're going to choose your category, the category that fits your business the best. And then when it says, what's the address, I would key it in. And you don't have to key it in. And if you're working out of your house or you don't have a storefront, you may not want to key it in. But I can tell you that I work out of my home and I keyed it in, and it's been there for 7 years. I've had 2 people come and visit me at my home over the 7 years. To me, it's totally worth it to list my address because it really gives you a lot more leads. It's really that simple. So, but you got to think it through. And if you don't want to list it, you don't have to. It's an optional thing. So you want to add your phone number. That also is optional, but it's really not. And I mean, you really, if you want to have people find you, they got to find you in some way. And if it's only your website, which is optional too, that's not good enough. You really need all of these things. And then when it gets to finish and manage your listing, it gives you a bunch more options. And in those options, I should point out before we get into the rest of this stuff that you can add, and the name, address, and phone number, whatever. Yeah, well, this, you might want to use your company name because the name, address, and phone number are best if they're always the same. If they're the same on your website, and maybe you've got it in the footer on your website, if they're the same on your Facebook page, it's a benefit. If they're the same on any directories that you may be on, and if you're not, you might want to get on some of those because they're of value too. Google sees all these things that you're on, but the name, address, and phone number, if they're always the same, it won't confuse Google. They'll take all of the things that have that name, address, and phone number related to you, and it makes you more powerful on your quest to, in my opinion, become the authority for your niche in your local area, because that's where you really want to be. That's where you can make the most money. So Google has these little bots that run around the web, and they see everything that's going on. They go all over the world, every server they can get into, any site they can get into, anything that's connected, they see what's going on. So they're going to see your information wherever it appears on the web. So it's really valuable to have it the same, so that way they're not confused. They know that's you. They start stacking this stuff up, and the more stuff about you that's out there, the better it is as far as they're concerned. So these little things go all over the place, and they gather information, they bring it back to Google's databases, and they actually store it. Now, this is important stuff to know because what happens is you want all of this stuff stored because this is how they decide who's actually going to get listed for on a search page for a keyword. So when somebody types in something that is something you want to be brought up for, you want to be on that page. You want to get to page 1 because that's where any business that you're really going to get is going to occur from. It's going to be very unlikely that you're going to see much profit from page 2 or 3. So you got to get to page 1. So you want to be on page 1, and not just on page 1 for anything, but for the things that you really want to sell or be known for. And so anyway, it's really important to realize that Google is going to decide when they're going to put you on a page. And some pages will actually bring up a map. And this is really the key for local companies, because this is where you can be one of the 3 companies that shows up for a key phrase. So for this example, house painters carry, there are 3 companies that show up. Now, one of them actually bought an ad in addition to showing up on the map, which really doesn't serve them well, because if anybody does click on their ad, they're going to have to pay for it, where they get it for free if they click on the CertaPro Painters of Cary, Apex, North Carolina, and it's not the ad. So they would probably rather not have the ad on that page. But anyway, it's there. So very rarely will you see an ad. And when you do, the ad doesn't get clicked on as much as the other 3 listings do. But this is what you want to search for, things that you want to be found for, and we'll get into this more, but things that you want to be found for that bring up maps. Oh boy, this is it. So the reason this kind of stuff is so important is because most people use mobile devices to do searches. And when they see that map, it kind of takes over the whole page, and it's in color and all that kind of thing. And so they look at those 3 companies, and if any of those companies really make sense to them for what they've keyed in, they might want to go right to one of those companies. You might have a clickable phone number, and they might just call you right off the bat. The other thing that's going to be important here is that it's going to show whether you've got reviews or not. Now, if you have 1 5-star review, it's going to have 5 beautiful red stars. And if you have 69 of them, it's still going to have 5 beautiful red stars. But so the important thing is, first of all, that you got as many 5-star reviews as possible. The second thing is people may realize how many you've got, and if you got 29 and your competitors have 2, they may go to you for that. But reviews are critical, and they can go and read these reviews. But anyway, those are the important things. So the Google 3-pack, which is what we just looked at, this is the search results for local businesses. This is where you want to be. Now, why it's even more important that you're there is these keywords that bring up maps are oftentimes keywords that are for people who are ready to buy. So if somebody is really looking to have their house painted, and they click on and they put that in there, like, and they're in Cary, for example, in this case, and those 3 companies come up and they really want to have that house painted. They may want to have the house painted next week, who knows? And it may be other things, but people who are ready to buy, the keywords oftentimes trigger a map. And so people are almost ready to spend. Now, if you're selling water purifiers, they may have their credit card out and ready to buy. So it's really critical to get on this map. Now, if the search term does not bring up a map, it'll have 10 companies or 10 websites really that are listed and a bunch of other ads. The majority of the websites listed will be big brands. So a local company may have a big brand, but probably not. If you do not, you're probably going to end up, if you're on page 1 at all, you're going to be on line 9 or 10. Even if you have a good brand, you may still be on line 9 or 10. It's not going to be as valuable for you as getting on a page that brings up a map. But hey, you know, it doesn't matter. If you show up for it, you may grab some business from that as well. But traditional search results pages are dominated by big brands, so they're probably not as valuable for you. If someone does click on one of your listings on the Google 3-pack, or click on anybody's listing, This is what a Google My Business listing or the Google My Business page or the GMB page looks like. Now you see, again, your reviews, and this one's got 10 reviews. You can click on the reviews and you can read every one of them. You can go right to the website. You can, if you want to make your phone number clickable, they can click on your phone number. Remember, they're probably going to be using a mobile device, so they probably would rather click on your phone number than key it in. So it might be good to make it clickable. And in this case, you might have a place to take appointments, as this company does. And you can have that there also. You also want to have as many pictures as you can have as possible. If you've got a place that you want to show, if it's not your house, for example, if you do have a storefront or you have a building that you're in or whatever, that may be one of the pictures. Now, these pictures, if they're taken with a mobile device, they will be optimized for the location. So Google will know that, if you say you're in Apex and the picture is taken in Apex, hey, that picture is likely, about you. And so that's another good way to add credence to your value to Google, because they're really looking for the best results for each search. And they're looking for the best local companies for a category or a product or a service and that kind of thing. And the object to me, is to become the authority for that product or service. So for Drew, you know what you want to be the authority for. So you want to come up for those search terms. Now you can even put videos in here. And you could even have posts on here. They would go over in this area if these people had posts. And these posts would, each post you put in lasts 7 days. And you can then put it in for another 7 days and even another 7 if you want. If you have an event that lasts 30 days, a post for that event will probably last, that whole month. And if you do a post that's a product or a service, then that'll go into the Google database. It'll be kept on your listing in the information behind it, where you should list all your products and services, because then Google knows if they have any question for a certain search term, you should be on that map. And so you want to have as many pictures as possible. A couple of videos would be great. 1 is wonderful. 2 would be better. I don't think it's necessary to have more than 2, but if you think that they would be valuable, you can also, you can use videos wherever you want in here. But so this is what it looks like. So the secret to this whole thing, and this is what I really want you to get, because it really does come all the way down to this kind of detail. The keywords that bring up a map that are for products or services that you are offering are the most important things for you. These are the things that make all the difference in the world. So you need to have those keywords on your Google My Business listing somewhere. There's all kinds of places to put it. There's a detailed information about your site. There are all kinds of products you can list. You want to make sure that that keyword is somewhere in there, and it's also somewhere on your website. Now, you might have a product page or a service page or whatever on your website. It may be on the main page, but it needs to be there. That search term needs to be on a page on your website. So and this is the way to go about doing it. Search for the keywords that bring up a map that are for products or services that you offer. And note those in some way, copy them and paste them to a file or write them down or whatever, because those are the keywords, every one of them. There may be 5 different sets of, search phrases that bring up maps that you want to show up for. Each one of those you need to have in your Google My Business listing somewhere and on your website somewhere. If you have it that way and you are in the same geographical area as the searcher, so if you're in Raleigh, the searcher's in Raleigh, you have the same keyword phrase that they put up shows up on your Google My Business listing and in your website, voila, there's a very good chance you're going to be on that map. You're going to be one of those 3 companies in the Google 3-pack. Now, it is possible that you won't show up in the 3-pack and you really wish you did. And so in that case, you're going to have to spend a little more time and optimize. Maybe you're going to have to mention that keyword term more than once, maybe more than once on your Google My Business listing, maybe more than once in your website. And you may have to do other things. You may need to, what they call, optimize both your listing and your website. If this is something you know how to do, and it's a keyword that you really want to show up in the map for, then that's the kind of thing you may want to pay somebody to help you do. But you won't have to pay an advertising agency or a marketing agency to do all the rest of this stuff. So that'll save you a bunch of money. If you have to do it just for that, you'll find that'll be money well spent. Because one by one, well, first of all, you want to show up for one. Once you show up for one, it's easier to get on the map for another one. And once you get on for 2, it's easier to get on there for 3 or 4. And there are ways you can optimize it and show up much more quickly. But I think you will find, without even optimizing beyond what we've talked about right now, if you just do what we talked about earlier, you're going to show up for some of these things. Figure out where you want to show up and see which ones you do show up for first. As soon as you show up for one, boom, you've broken through. You're through the barrier. Now it gets easier. The first one may be tricky. It may not be tricky because now you know the secret. I'm not sure how many people know this secret. I don't think you're ever going to hear this from any other marketing agency because they might think, oh man, I'm going to lose business if people know how to do this. I think this is critical. You need to get started here because there's so much more you can do, and there's so much more a marketing agency can help you do than this simple stuff. This is simple. You can all do it. If you have any question on it, you can get in touch with me, but this is really all you need. All you need to do is exactly what we just talked about right now. You may have questions. I may have gone over it too quickly. You may want to ask me now. You may think about it and go, or maybe go in and try some of this stuff and say, well, I can't remember what he said about that. Get back in touch with me. Email me or text me and tell me you want to talk. And we'll get together and we'll do a one-on-one and we'll figure this stuff out. I think everybody should do this, because I've seen what a significant improvement this is to a plain old website, and a website can be very valuable. But boy, you put this with it and you watch. In some cases, like I said, initially it was tripling the results for some companies. And then after a while, this was the predominant way that they actually got leads. So that's really all there is to it. It's really that simple. And I hope that you got something out of it. I hope you're going to do something with this. Does anybody have questions now? Is there something I went over too quickly that you'd like to have repeated or explained more thoroughly?
Thank you, Roy. There are some questions in the chat.
Oh, great. Okay. All right. I don't know if I can do that. Can I do that?
Yeah, you can go in the chat. Everybody can go in the chat.
Okay, can I do that while I'm still sharing my screen?
I don't,
So,
I
Okay,
think,
let me go to the chat, and I'm going to stop sharing here because I know I can get to the chat here. Oh, here we go. All right, so let's start at the top here, and if Kimball, if you can help me with this too.
okay, Drew's question is, I have a listing with a company, but now am more well-known for publishing company. The previous listing does not have an address. Can I set up a listing for Realization Press?
Okay, so you already have a Google My Business listing. Is that what you're saying, Drew?
Yeah, I do for Convey Inc. or Convey Media Group, which is the parent company for the publishing company.
Okay, now is this your listing?
Yes,
It is. Okay. So do you know how you logged into it before to start it?
I don't remember that.
Okay. All right. Well, we may have to figure out how you did it. There is an email address and a password that you used to start this thing. We're going to have to figure out what that is. It's going to be easier to figure out what it is than it is to change it, because Google doesn't like changes that are, what they consider monumental, which
Okay.
they would consider this. So we need to find out what that login, what that email address and the password is. Then we're going to be able to get into the back end. Once you get into the back end, then it's easy. Then you just add your address, because you can make any changes, just about anything you want. In fact, you're going to want to make changes. You're going to want to add posts. You're going to want to add pictures. You're going to want to add videos. You've got so much stuff going on, Drew, that you're going to want to let people know. And this, believe it or not, is probably the best place to let people know that kind of stuff. Yeah, and you use it in conjunction with your website and in conjunction with your Facebook page and all, and any other way that you're currently doing things. You don't want to change any of that. This you want to add to it and cause acceleration for everything working together. So why don't you get in touch with me, and we'll figure out how we can get into that, and you can make that change. And then once you know how to get in the back end, you're going to see all kinds of other things that you want to do. Now, because you've got two different things, the first thing was, what did you mention before you mentioned publishing?
I did video and as well as writing for that one. It's called Convey Media Group, and but I think that's what's available up there.
Okay, great. So you can do a separate product, or yeah, a separate product for each one of those. Google still hasn't refined this, so it's still in its infancy. They'll call a lot of things products that could be services as well. Now, there is a chance that besides listing it as a product, which you want to do, so each separate thing you want to list as a product. Now, if it turns out that you are able to also set up services, then you want to list whatever you can as a service as well. It's just going to add much more credence. You just want to use every possible thing you can use, and you'll see all the characters, what your character maximum is for each thing. And in each one of these, you can put keywords. So, if you need to figure out how to find the keywords you want to add, I can give you some pointers on that too. But you want to get as many good keywords, but fill up the character count every time you get an opportunity. So every product, and if they allow you to do services, every service, and then there's information about the site in general, you can add all kinds of things there. Because you haven't done anything about publishing in the past, you can do a post that's either an event or I can't remember exactly what they call it, but it's something new, here, basically, this is something new I want you to see. It's that kind. I don't remember the exact wording. Do it there, because that'll grab people's attention. Also, if you haven't mentioned publishing as much, this is an opportunity to emphasize it. There's all kinds of good things you can do. So you've already got to start. You've already got it going. With anything, The longer you have it in place, the more credence Google puts on it. Have you got a website also?
Oh, yeah.
And how long has that been available?
It's been up for about 6 years.
Great, great. Yeah, that's really valuable. Anything beyond 5 years, anything beyond 3 really is good. Beyond 5 is even better. And so you've got all that going. So that should work out well. Yeah, we should talk.
Thanks.
And Marie Vogel has a question. How should you do listing if you were in multiple locations? She has one main site, but also works regularly at 2 other locations.
Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, you want to set up what you think is your main site or decide what's going to be your main site. And that's probably going to be the place that you can get the most business. So give me an example. What are the 3 locations? Are they all in the same city or town?
2 are in Durham and 1 is in Chapel Hill.
Okay. So in Durham, that'll be your main thing. So not because it's, more important than Chapel Hill, but because there are more people in it. So you can get more business. You can get business more easily from it. The advantage to having a location in a city, can you list an address for a Durham?
Yes.
A Durham site? Okay, great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's really, really valuable. So your main site should be one of the Durham locations.
Okay.
If one of them has more traffic because it's the part of Durham that's even more people live in and more people search from than another, I would actually use that one as the main. The other 2, you can add additional locations. And so you'll be able to capture business from Chapel Hill, but also you'll do double duty on your business from Durham, the fact that you have more than one location. Now you need a separate address for each. Do you have that?
Yes.
Oh,
yes, I
wow.
do.
This is great. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very powerful to have more than one location, and to have more than one location in 2 different, one city and one town is really powerful too, because Google puts all this information together and then they rate you as far as what kind of authority they think you have. And they would rate you highly once they understand all the places that you're located in. Now, what you will be doing for each of these locations really amounts to a separate GMB listing. You will actually do all the things that you do for the main listing in the other 2 as well, and word them slightly differently.
Can I ask a question? So the other 2 locations, are there actually businesses? So I do massage therapy for dogs. And so the other 2 locations are training centers for dogs. So they have a business name. So
Okay.
how is that going to conflict
Okay.
somewhere? Or
Well, tell me about the one that's not about dogs.
yeah, it's the pet spa. I share it with a space with a groomer. So we kind of coexist there.
Okay, well, we probably ought to talk about this, but would you like for your coexisting partner to be gaining leads as well?
Probably in the future. Right now, she's pretty booked up as a groomer. She
Okay,
doesn't.
good. So
She's like, she's,
so you don't have to worry about that.
she's not
So
moving.
everything can be for you. That you
Yeah.
can, if she needs more leads, you can word it a little differently in the future. And you
Okay.
can do those things that I was talking to Drew about, where you mentioned something new has been added. Or I can't think offhand exactly what it's called, but it's a type of post, and Google treats it differently, and they emphasize it. It's a big deal for the moment, and then that kind of goes into oblivion, and the other things are more important. But for the time that you first put it out, it's the most important part of the website as far as Google is concerned.
Okay.
And then, and then it's valuable if you have an event or something like that. It's valuable when people respond to that event. We can talk about that some other time, but
Okay.
Google likes to see people interacting with you. But at any rate, having 3 locations is very valuable. So yes.
Okay. Thank you so
We
much.
have different names for each location also. Yeah.
Okay, and Coco Jones had a question. Should your skills be written in the same terms people use for search, like Raleigh Realtor or Homes to Buy in Raleigh?
Repeat that once more.
Okay. Should your skills be written in the same terms people use for search, like Raleigh Realtor or Homes to Buy in Raleigh?
That's a really good point. Yes. The more times you can use things that can come up in a search in a meaningful way, in a sentence or in a title or in anything, it's really powerful. And that'll help you show up more easily and get into these Google 3-packs where you really want to be. So even if you're not in the Google 3-pack, it'll even help you anywhere with respect to how Google feels about you, because the bottom, this is kind of just the beginning, what we're talking about today. You can take this to a much deeper level, but in the end, I would recommend that you want to be the authority for at least one thing. And the more that Google can categorize you, and that category is related to a specific keyword term, the better. Yeah, that's really what it's about. Now you're getting really down into the details that I love. Yes, that's absolutely the way you should do it.
All right, does anybody have any questions? We've got just a couple of minutes left here.
Okay, please try this stuff. And if you run into any questions after you try, maybe you can't get in, you don't know how to get in or whatever, it was too quick to see exactly the best way to do it, just get in touch with me and I'll help you get started with this. This is important to do this because you can do an awful lot with it, but you got to get it set up initially in the first place.
All right,
Can you share the slides? I was a little late. Can you share the slides from the presentation?
I'll tell you what, I'll send them to you.
Perfect.
Can you put,
Coco, I'm not sure if you put your information in the chat. Put your name, your business, email, and telephone number in the chat, and then he'll be able to send them to you.
I'll tell you what, if you would do, instead of click to everyone, I mean, you can do it to everyone if you want, but do it to Roy Dickan also. So I make sure I don't mix you up because I want to get you those slides.
Thank you.
And I'll send them out. I'll send them out right away.
Thank you.
I think you'll be able to get a lot from them, but if you need for me to talk through them after you get them, then just, text me and say we need to talk or, whatever.
Well, I want to thank everyone for coming today. I want to particularly thank Roy for the presentation. I've heard him give this presentation 2 or 3 times now, and I learn more every single time. He is a great presenter, and I think this is information that all of us as business owners need. If you're new to the group, I hope you'll join us again. I'm always looking for speakers. We're booked up right now, I think, through the end of October. But if you have a subject you'd like, and the way it works is we don't do a thing where we are just selling our gizmos and gadgets. We offer a speech that all the entrepreneurs can use in some way. And then, of course, if people are interested in getting back to you, they will. I really want this to be a great place for people to meet and network, but also that when you grab your lunch and join us here, that you have taken something of value. So I want to thank you very much for being here today. There's lots of other places you could be, and I hope that we see you back again next Tuesday. Have a good one.
Thanks, Roy.
Bye-bye.
Can you leave this up just for a minute
Sure.
so I get Coco's information down?
Yeah. And thank you, Roy. I actually was told about this about 2 weeks ago and just got my Google My Business set up. So I still have to add all the things that you just mentioned, but I didn't know anything about this.
Oh, great, Angie. Okay, this is very timely then.
It absolutely is. Now, one thing that I did learn is that it takes 5 days to actually get a code for you.
Yeah, what's going to happen is, did you apply for it, and Google's going to send you a postcard. Did you get that?
Yeah, I got it yesterday.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that code will have to be put in order to activate.
It's all activated now. Now it's just populating.
Oh, dynamite, dynamite.
So
Good
thank you,
timing,
very
good
timely.
timing. Okay, Coco, I got your information, so I will be able to send you the slides.
All
Be
right.
well.
Oh, and I'll mention to you all, if you're looking for other places to network tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock is the Fuquay Small Business, and you can go on,
Thursday.
Thursday, not tomorrow, Thursday. Fuquay Small Business meets every Thursday on Zoom now at 9 o'clock. Great place to network.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody. See you later.
Thank you.